Welcome to TactTalks, the podcast where we explore how technology, finance, and entrepreneurship intersect in the Caribbean and beyond. I'm Kenyatta Daniel, and in this episode, we'll be talking about, of all things, dragons, knights in shining armor, and also income tax. Sounds wild, right? But trust me, by the end of this episode, it'll all make sense, and you'll be better prepared to handle your income tax like a pro. Let's dive in. All right, so picture this. You and I are living in a grand kingdom far, far away. Life is good, people are working, thriving, and just going about their business. But once a year, around March, April, the entire kingdom is on edge. Why? Well, that's because that's the time that the creature shows up. A fire-breathing beast, the income tax dragon. And let me tell you, this dragon is very much real. Blue scales, piercing black eyes, and an insatiable hunger for gold. Your gold. The worst part is, you cannot slay this dragon. You can only tame it. And if you don't, well, it will just swoop down from the sky and steal your hard-earned treasure and leave you and your assets in the ashes. Sounds scary, right? But fear not. I've got 5 practical tips I'd like to share with you to help you prepare for the dragon's arrival, to protect you from its fiery wrath, and best of all, to help you reclaim your gold from its lair. Let's get started. So, the first thing is it's important to know when the tax filing deadline is. So it's easier to prepare for a dragon when you know it's actually going to show up. So in the European Netherlands, the deadline to file your 2024 income tax return is April the 30th, 2025. And if you're living in the Caribbean Netherlands, so that's Bonaire, St. Eustatius, or Saba, you have until May 13th, 2025 to file your income tax. I believe that already from March, early March, mid-March, you can already start to make the filing, but the dates that I just mentioned are the final deadlines, okay? So mark these dates, circle them in red, set reminders, do whatever you need to, because knowing the deadline gives you time to prepare, to gather your documents and avoid any last-minute panic. And sometimes you need additional time to prepare. No worries, you or your accountant can request an extension from the tax authorities. Okay, so now that you know your deadline, the second thing that you need to do is to gather your tax paperwork. Now, if there is one mistake that I've seen time and time again that results in people getting burnt by the income tax dragon, it's not having their paperwork in place. It's sort of like facing the dragon and going into battle without a sword and a shield. So I want to just briefly highlight some of the basic paperwork that you'll need to file your taxes. Okay, first of all, you will need documents that show your proof of income. So if you're an employee, that's going to be your wage tax card. In Dutch, it's called a loonbelastingkaart. And at the beginning of every year, your employer will provide you with this document, giving an overview of your income for the previous year. If you are a small business owner, let's say you own a sole trader, an eenmanszaak, then your proof of income will be your business annual accounts or its financial statements. And this is typically prepared by your accountant. As the owner of a sole trader business, the profit or loss that you made for the year will be considered your income for that year. Okay. And of course, you have individuals who have not just one, but multiple sources of income. So let's say you are an employee who also has a side business, then for you, your proof of income will be both your wage tax card and your financial report. Okay, so that's some examples of your proof of income. On the other hand, you have proof of tax deductible expenses. Now, these documents are actually your secret weapon against the dragon. So these receipts and invoices show the costs you have incurred in a year that you can use to reduce the amount of income tax that you pay. And these documents is what allow you to reclaim your gold from the income tax dragon. So a few examples of these include any interest that you pay on a mortgage or a personal loan. It will also include payments that you make for life insurance. There are also costs that you would incur for, let's say, maintaining your property, your home. And this is the home that you actually live in. And not only the property itself, but maintenance of the garden and the surrounding area. Those are also considered property maintenance costs. You also have charitable donations. So these are donations that you pay to a nonprofit organization within, let's say, the Best Islands that has some sort of public benefit. So payments to an after-school program, if you make tithes and offering payments to your church, and so on and so forth. These charitable donations are actually tax deductible. A few more examples will include certain medical expenses that you pay, and also study expenses that you pay for yourself as a professional or employee, and also for your kids as well. Okay, so here's the catch, however. So to claim these tax deductions, you must have the proof. Okay, so you need to have the invoices or the receipts. And if you don't have those, then you cannot get the deductions. And the result of that is that you basically end up paying more tax than you should. Okay, and that's something that you would obviously want to avoid. So one practical tip is that you would have to reach out to your bank, your insurance company, your church, any organization or business that you transacted with, and basically request a receipt from them so that you have those documents ready for your tax filing. Okay, so moving on, another practical step that you can take, which I've sort of already alluded to, when it comes to handling your income tax, is to hire an accountant or a tax advisor. So a trusted accountant is like having your very own knight in shining armor, protecting you and your gold from the dragon's wrath, right? Your accountant can help you apply for a tax filing extension. They can prepare your business financial statements, and they can make sure that you claim every deduction that you qualify for. And of course, they can advise you on that. In this podcast, I've tried to keep things as simple as possible, but as we all know, taxes can be quite complicated. So there are other things like dividend income and tax credits, and other details in the tax code that your accountant will know about that can save you money and help you get a positive result in filing your taxes. So a good accountant will help you navigate all of that and ensure that you don't leave any money on the table. So definitely hiring an accountant is another practical step that you can take. All right, so you've gathered your paperwork, and if needed, you've hired an accountant. Now it's time for the big moment for filing your tax return. So to do this, you will need access to your online tax portal. In the Caribbean Netherlands, this is called Mijnzien. And if you're filing yourself, of course, you'll need to log into the system and make sure that you submit all of the information required on time. If your accountant is filing on your behalf, then within the MindCN tax portal, you can follow certain steps to authorize your accountant to have access and to file your tax return on your behalf. So either way that you take, getting the filing done on time is crucial. And yeah, if you don't file on time, you can end up getting like tax penalties, and yeah, you can get burnt by the income tax dragon. So you want to avoid that. All right, so the final step is to claim your reward. So once you filed your tax return, the Belastingdienst will assess it and let you know where you stand. And there's three outcomes. So one is that you might have to pay additional taxes. A second scenario is that you break even, so you have nothing to pay but nothing to get back. And then finally, if you've played your cards right, you will get a tax refund, which is the most favorable outcome. And think of this outcome as basically taming the dragon, so where you get the tax refund. If you followed all of the steps that I've outlined, so you've planned ahead of time, you've gathered your paperwork, you've consulted an accountant, and you have made the most of your deductions, then most likely you will get this favorable outcome. You tame the dragon, and actually you'll be able to have access to some of the gold that the dragon has previously taken. All right. And with that, I'd like to wrap up this episode of TactTalks. I hope you feel more prepared to handle your income tax and to keep your hard-earned gold safe. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe for more insights on tech-driven finance in the Caribbean. And before we go, I'd like to give a special shout out to Maia Samuel. She's an incredibly talented graphic designer and artist whose artwork is featured in this podcast and will be featured in future podcasts. So please be sure to check her out. She's definitely one to watch. And until next time, stay inspired and keep innovating.